Hello and welcome back, and today I want to continue looking at NASes for multimedia servers, and today's the turn of Synology's very own Video Station application, their first party app for enjoying your media, transcoding, metadata scraping and more, and I'm going to compare it against Emby. Emby somewhat overlooked, some might say, even by people like myself, because of things like Plex Media Server, but still Emby has really consistently carried on doing what it does, and it hasn't changed too much over the years, and now with Plex Media Server just getting the tiniest bit bloatware-y, the tiniest bit external internet streamy, Emby has now risen back into the ranks, while other things like Kodi has kind of fallen out of favour because a lot of people streaming most of their content wirelessly and not really taking advantage of HDMI out boxes, keeping it all inside your TV, your smart telly. Kodi has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit, and Emby has risen a great deal more than it ever has before. So today we're looking at Video Station and Emby, but a few disclaimers straight off the bat. First and foremost, all of these tests are going to be conducted, and all of the comparisons, I should say, will be conducted using the web user interface, Chrome-based GUI, although it's worth highlighting there are numerous client applications available for mobile phones, for desktop, for Fire TV, for Roku, and for other devices as well, but arguably there are more available for Emby than there are for Synology. The difference between them is that a number of the Synology applications are available, I would argue, more natively to the Synology NAS systems. If you go on the Synology NAS platform, for example, if you go on the App Center, you can find Video Station on pretty much any Synology NAS, whereas the Emby application, you actually have to go directly to them and download manually. It's not available in the App Center. You have to make sure you install the third-party publishers and use maybe third-party package sources from somewhere else, but that a lot of users aren't even aware that you can use Emby on their Synology NAS. The other things worth highlighting in these videos is even though both of these on screen are ultimately free, the Emby version does have a premium version available, something we're not going to be looking at in this video, but luckily the version of Synology's Video Station is included with the Synology, so that is free as well. So it's worth bearing that in mind. Also, all the tests are going to be conducted over the local area network, and both of them are utilising an arguably day one setup. I've not done a huge amount. I've not chucked loads of multimedia on these devices. All I've put on them is a handful of TV shows and movies, and I've used a lot of the default settings. Yes, in the case of both of these applications, you can improve them in a number of key ways in terms of metadata scraping, sources of media, playback and more, but then you have to play with these applications a little bit, and I think that's one of the biggest distinctions between these. So in efforts to show it to you, I've tried to leave as many non-default options left off as possible. So the first thing to bear in mind, between the two of these, the user interface is incredibly similar. On the left hand side of the screen with Video Station here, once it's installed, you add all of the different directories nice and easily. I've added TV shows, movies and media there. If I want to add a new directory, all I've got to do is go to the top there. I can look at the existing ones or add other ones, or I can click the plus symbol, find a new directory, give it a name, select where I want it on the NAS to be. Do I want it to be visible by other users? Click OK. It's that straightforward. Each one utilises the scraping of metadata nice and straightforwardly and easily, and although the Synology seems to do a great deal of this metadata scraping in the background, it seems to do a very good job. If you saw my previous video, it arguably did a much better job than Plex did. Case in point, if we go into the movies section here, and we go in here, sorry, wrong one, go into the movies section, click the plus symbol. That's not what we want to do. Sorry, we want to go here. We want to find the movies section, and then we want to delete it. We can delete that directory, click OK. As you can see, the movies section, if we refresh the page, is going to be deleted. As you can see, no movies section is on there now. So what we can go ahead with now is click plus, select the folder on the NAS. So it's a shared folder I created earlier. Go to movies, click OK. From there, you can see information is going to be scraped online. If we click source setup, we can find out a little bit more information about that. But the majority of the file stuff that's going to be taken is done semi-autonomously. And if you want some more specialized stuff from movie databases, generally you will need an API key for the more advanced stuff. But a lot of the base level stuff will be taken automatically. So if I click OK and then leave and then go back into it, you can see that it started indexing and getting the metadata there in the background. So we'll come back to this window in a moment. So if we leave that on TV shows, we can make our way over to MB now. MB, if we go to the movies section on the MB one, we've got movies here, exactly the same movies. We're pulling from the same directories. And if we wanted to add a new file or folder structure or makeup or anything on here, we can go ahead and go into either the MB server management, then from there, go into library. From library, we can add a new library here or scan the existing library pretty easily. But again, much like the Synology Video Station application, give it a name or give it a genre. So that means MB knows how to handle this. From there, you can also give it a name and then select a folder that you're going to be utilizing. So if we were, for example, to use there's our media. We'll use movies again. Click OK. When you click OK again, we'll give it a name, say it's movies. And again, we're not going to complete this because we've already done it. Before we add the media, we've got a lot more settings to play with. So we can select the language of the metadata. So if you're using your media server in different countries and you want to use certain metadata that's very regionally linked, you can select different regions, different countries, and those different languages. On top of that, you can select by default the Open Movie Database if you choose or choose not to. Same thing goes for movie database footage of movie fetcher settings, thumbnail settings, languages, subtitles. There's a lot more configuration and options. And then if you select the Advanced tab, there's even more with options to save all of this metadata locally in a far more interactive level, as well as NFO files to store along with your media for other media servers as well. What I'm saying is there's a lot more configuration on MB than there is on Video Station, and that is going to be a long-running theme throughout this whole video. MB is most certainly the more intimidating tool of the two. But if we go into the movies, we can see the Synology is now sequenced and indexed those movies. And as we can see, if we select the movies area on both NASes, we can see how both systems have displayed this media. So let's say, for example, we select the Matrix on both of them. Remember, neither one of these is using any kind of enterprisey premium setting. They're both using either free in the case of MB or the inclusive app with the Synology. I am using screen recording software, so I apologize in advance if it does play with the screen that you're seeing here a little bit sometimes. But you can see there's the description on there on the Matrix side of things, all of the actors highlighted there. A little bit there, same description, obviously pulled from the same site. More information on reviews from Rotten Tomatoes and stuff on the MB side of things. There's also links to watch trailers, something that isn't available on Video Station. So on MB, you can get MB to search for connected trailers, and then you can just watch a trailer, if you choose, of movies on that server, which can be shared with other connected users without any kind of premium account. On top of that, we can go to actors as well. Let's go for Lawrence Fishburne. And if you've got other movies with the same actor, they'll be listed, but you can also go straight over to IMDb and find out more about individual actors at the click of a button. So if we go back and go back to the heading there for the movie, if we look at the Matrix on the Video Station app, we can favourite it, we can add it to a watch list, we can add it to a playlist, or we can share with other users. You know, that's all good, and you can do all of that in MB as it is. But there's less information readily available. We can find out more information about the file types that we're using. We can find out more information. We can change the info if we choose, but not a huge amount more. Offline Convert allows us to convert a file to a lesser version using transcoding or encoding or decoding on that file before playing it. And if we go into MB, we can do most of those things as well. We can edit those file types, we can convert in advance if we choose, we can refresh that metadata, we can do a lot more as well. But what's really interesting is when we play these files. So let's play the Matrix on both systems. Now, if I move the mouse away, we can let both of these files play organically. They're playing at roughly the same time. There's less than a second between them. And this is something we picked up before on a previous Plex versus Video Station overview. On the Synology side, we've got playback. We can flick between the whole movie if we choose. We can go back and forth. Same goes for here on MB. It's all native. It's all over the network. It's all lovely and quick. But if we scroll all the way back to the beginning on both of them, so again, there'll be like a second's difference between them. What we can do here is go into the settings here. Now, the first thing that's worth noting on both of these files is if we want to change the picture quality. In the Matrix on Video Station, it's playing back in original quality. And if we go here on MB, it is playing it on the original quality. However, Synology only allows you to switch high, medium, low. It already has preset picture qualities and bit rates that it will convert it to. It makes an educated guess what's the best way to minimize the playback and the frames per second and the resolution and everything for connected devices or on limited data connections or limited older legacy devices. But you have more ways of tailoring that configuration. So to put it into perspective, if we selected low on the Synology and we select 360 on the MB, 360p converted a great deal faster on the MB server than it did on the Synology. If we skip forward a little bit, and again we'll have both of these running side by side, you can see that the MB one I've managed to put a lower quality. The resolution is lower, and if we go over to the Synology, we can see it doesn't tell us the picture quality that Video Station has picked as its quote-unquote lowest quality, but it could still be made lower. And if you're on a limited data connection or using a phone which has arguably got a smaller screen than the one I'm on right now, then you may see the benefits long term for data consumption minimization and lesser client devices to minimize it further. Same goes if we move this higher. So right now we can kind of assume that the Synology's lowest setting is around 480p. So when we're looking between them, that extra element of configuration and adaptation on MB really has to be applauded. The other thing that's worth highlighting is subtitles. If we go between the two of them, we can search online for subtitles on MB, but it is a paid service. You have to pay extra for some of the features. There's lots of little extra features there, live TV, DVR stuff, cinema intros, which is always fun, and more. But that's about. But subtitles-wise, you will need to get that extra subscription. You can't even use your own localized subtitles. Whereas on Video Station, you can make your way into subtitles, auto-download subtitles if you've added a supported service, or search locally for subtitles on your system. For those that need closed caption or subtitles, that can be a little bit more advantageous. One feature that MB has that neither Plex nor Synology Video Station seems to have is picture-in-picture. So on MB, when a file is playing, what I can do is choose to have picture-in-picture. And I know what you're thinking, what good is picture-in-picture here? Well, this allows me to flick between other tabs, and I can move that over there, and I can carry on doing my work at my workstation while simultaneously watching a film on an MB window. I need to keep this window here, this tab here open, but it allows me to just browse the internet, do other things, and watch my video on MB. And then I can just full screen it and flick back whenever I want. It's a tiny thing. For those of you that are going to be using your desktop rather than streaming to third-party clients in the local area network, or using your phone or any device like that, this can be quite desirable. Now, there aren't a huge number of other settings on the Synology Video Player desktop app. There's a few there, normal repetition ones, audio tracks if you've got different languages, but that's really about your lot. On MB, there's a few others, but they're really largely the same. One that I do love though is Stats for Nerds. I've talked about it before, the ability to look at all kinds of real-time information about the file that you're playing. But it's also worth highlighting that this information will change if you are using transcoding. It actually adapts in real time to show you what exactly you're watching, and it's something that I think Synology could have really stood to use. It's quite analytical for multimedia, and no one's really going to use this stuff, such as picture-in-picture and those nerd stats on desktop utilization and mobile, but there's still nice extra features and does form part of the large, widespread customization that MB has that's heavily involved in its makeup there. So if we go ahead now and exit the matrix, we're back at the user interface there. I'm going to go back and mention that business of clients, because again, it's worth highlighting that MB is available for numerous clients, but the majority of these clients do not have one-click download. Maybe 50% of them do. Certainly mobile devices do. But most of these platforms require third-party installation. In other words, you have to download the app, say like here for Synology, you have to download it, select the right CPU that you're running, download the file, and then head into the Synology, and then having to manually install it, which is a real bugbear for some people, and that's just on the Synology. It is available in a number of different online, app centers and app stores for free, but it's not on all of them. Now, Synology is available on even fewer platforms technically, but it's available widely on probably the most predominant forced ones. So Amazon Fire Sticks, Samsung TVs, Apple TV, Android TV, Google, as well as for mobile platforms, of course, and there's computer tools as well, some useful stuff there. It's not as widespread as MB, but it's on the platforms that matter. And why I'm highlighting that more as a win for Synology over MB isn't about the quantity. It's about the idea that your library of media is on your Synology NAS and you want to watch it natively. Natively is the key word. Natively is so that the multimedia server you're using for transcoding or reshaping of files or just having access to the GPU components of your Synology NAS is done as effectively as possible. And using a first-party app on a NAS, i.e. using an app from the brand that produced the NAS, is always going to do a better job of utilizing system resources. It doesn't necessarily mean the job will always be better than third-party tools with more advanced or heavily researched services, but like for like in the same scenario basis, Synology's own tool will use less resources than Plex or MB. It doesn't necessarily mean it will do a better job, but in a like-for-like scenario, it will use less resources. Now, next we want to talk a little bit about playback. If we go into the movies there, and this time we go into, let's go into the multimedia of our 1080p and 4K testing. So let's go with a 10 megabits per second HD H.264 file, because what we want to see is one, how do both of these systems play back this file, and two, how do they compare when transcoding it. So first let's play on the Synology. We're going to let that play first. As you can see, it's playing it back. We can go into the original settings. As this is H.264, it will play back in the original quality, and we can minimize it down, and it's an H.264 file, so it should be absolutely fine. Very quick transcode. Everything's running smoothly as it goes. Very small spike there, that earlier spike there when we were playing around with some of the settings, but sub 20% utilization there. So let's come out of that, and now we're going to repeat it, this time on the MB system. Seemingly playing back just the quickest bit faster, I've got to say, in terms of deploying the file. And again, it's doing 480 there. It's stuck with the low file format that we saw before, but I'm going to go even lower at 144p. And arguably MB has done a quicker, more responsive job making the switch over there between those different picture qualities. Indeed, we can make our way up as well. Let's scale up very, very quickly, and we're going to go up to 60 megabits per second 1080. and it's managed to upscale it quite well. And again, that is not an option readily available within Video Station there. So if we go back to the 4K test media, let's come out of that there. And again, we can see there were heavy spikes during the transcodes within MB, as mentioned, utilizing more system resources than that of the Synology down there, but it's still got the job done better. And that's the difference. It's about utility versus utilization. Very, very different there. So if we make our way back, this time we're going to go for something a little bit beefier. Let's go with a 100 megabits per second, but this time HEVC. This is H.265, a higher compression, a more efficient compression even, but still the support of H.265 HEVC, whichever one you want to call it, is still not as widespread due to the patent problems, and that's why you generally always find when you play back files that are HEVC that transcoding is almost always necessary. So now we're going to have a look at how the Synology deals with this 1080p 100 megabits file. It's playing it. It will be transcoding it, as you can see, because of the lack of support of HEVC natively. And if we go for a transcode, switch back, we can have a look. We're already seeing a rising spike there in original playback. Now it's lowered that quality, and we go back into what the Synology NAS is utilizing. As we can see, it's rising up to 18%. Every time we flick away from this, it will pause the playback there quite significantly. But as you can see, it's still just under 20% on the Synology Video Station tool. So if we come out of it there, and this time we'll let that thing reset. So it's gone down to 0, and we'll go ahead and this time click this file. Again, it will need to transcode that file. It will need to use software transcoding, because MB use hardware transcoding only on a premium paid for subscription. Straight away it's trying to play back the quality that we set earlier on. But even then, CPU utilization has been notably higher. So let's reset that and try that again, this time allowing the software to play on the auto settings. But even now, as we play back this file, CPU utilization has been real heavy during the transcoding of that HEVC file, and a lot of that does come down to the non-native access and the over-reliance on software transcoding that MB's utilizing here. So even now, as it tries to play, it's having difficulty keeping up. It's just not going to do the job for us here. And again, that is that difference between hardware transcoding, which is available natively and inclusive of Video Station, whereas MB require it as an additional payment as part of that premium level service. So last thing I want to compare these two on, unsurprisingly, is the user interface. Both of them, although very, very similar, have gone a very different way in terms of customization and configuration. With Video Station, what you see is largely what you get. If you go into the configuration options at the top, you can obviously change the directories and folders. You can go ahead with parental controls, but a lot of that needs to be done in the background. And when you create parental controls, they're going to be linked per user. You can create as many users with different privileges as you choose at no additional cost. Same goes for MB. If you want to use digital TV services and tuners and stuff, you can do that there, or live stream services. Privileges will list all of the available users on your Synology NAS system, and then you can change what they can access and how. Then you've got the advanced settings, which we kind of talked about earlier on with regards to third-party source information links. And finally, you've got the options there about how you want things to be displayed, to carry on from where you left off, a little bit more about subtitles and streaming sources. That's really a lot. Now, MB, on the other hand, will seem a lot more intimidating. It has to be said, a great deal more intimidating, but at the same time, as a loud plane goes over me overhead, I'll let that go right there. Super annoying. I could stop talking, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna let it just breeze by and be super annoying on the mic. But if you have a look at MB right now, MB is just so damn intimidating to look at here, but at the same time, you can create an incredibly bespoke media setup here. I mean, there are so many options here, not just the options for all of those different sources for multimedia that we talked about, but also the DLNA control is significantly better and built in, as opposed to Synology requiring that you go and install the DLNA media add-ons and media mods that form part of their user interface here with Media Server for DLNA. The other thing, if we go back into Video Station there, the transcoder, you can do lots of presets, even when you're using the software transcoding rather than hardware transcoding that you can't use without Premium. On top of that, everything from enabling those cinema intros, again, a lot of them are subscription only based, the paid subscription, unless you have them already on the system. But there's still lots of options that are just not readily available. The live TV streaming stuff, different devices and what they can see and control them, uploaded from your phone, all good stuff. But the real fun of Emby comes in at plugins. This is something that's largely missing from most other media server applications that we've talked about on this channel. And Video Station are far more closed system by comparison. These add-ons, if you go to the catalog, allow you to create an incredibly unique and multifaceted server platform. I know a lot of people have moved away from Plex because of its connection and support of a number of tremendously annoying streaming services and more, but some of the applications here, again, it's not helping that I'm downloading stuff on the server at the same time, allow you to install different tools in the back end, different databases, IPTV, again, lots of add-on services, and there are literally hundreds of apps that can be, applications and add-ons that can be added to your device for real-time information. As you see here, I've installed already an analytical tool that allows me to learn more about how my media server is being used, what files are being played, how they're being played, a full breakdown over time, different users, where the settings and resource utilization go. It's a tremendously well-built setup there. And again, although it may seem fantastically intimidating, all of this stuff you do at setup goes by very, very quickly. Even the default settings will get you by. And then after that, I would argue you have a better media server experience than you do on the Synology. But let's not overlook the little things that Synology have already done well here. For example, you may have noticed, look at the TV show tabs. On Emby, this show here, Taskmaster, no metadata information. Over here, Mr. Bean Complete Collection, no metadata information. However, on here, exactly the same files, we have got a full breakdown of information here. We can go find out more. We've got casting lists. All of that has been pulled despite the information with regards to streaming, getting data services being incredibly more restrictive. So again, Synology has done an incredible job there to have all of this being done in the background with little or no integration from end users. Whereas Emby, who arguably I would have thought would have done a better job of this, seemingly have dropped the ball, despite the fact that the TV shows tab, if we go into it, let's have a look, if we go into the TV shows tab, we're able to see that where it's scraping data from is quite comprehensive. I even went to the trouble of making sure it had access to the majority of services. So if we go into the TV shows, look, all ticks on that one, but yet it still couldn't find all of the information that the Synology one did. And the Synology one found all that information and did a better job of it overall, not only in terms of visual display, but if you connected to this via an Amazon Fire Stick or a mobile app, it would look better overall. But that's really what it comes down to. It's always been Synology's remit when it comes to any kind of software, that their platform makes things easy, their platform makes things chewable, easy to set up and forget and enjoy. And Synology have done exactly that in Video Station. It's not complex, it's not customizable, but it certainly gives you the most frictionless video entertainment that can rival that of Netflix, Amazon Video, and other online third-party streaming services. Emby, on the other hand, provides a huge degree of customization and individuality. It provides a huge degree of bespoke and home cinema advantages that Video Station can only dream of. And with technically a wider variety of platforms where you can install the software onto, it generally has a wider degree of coverage over different systems. It's just in some cases, particularly the NAS servers, where you have to go a little bit unofficial installation in terms of that. Overall, between the two of them, if you can take the time to learn, I'd recommend Emby over the two of them, because remember, everything you've seen today is the non-premium service. It's the completely free service. But if you're not very, you haven't got a huge amount of time to play around with these things, and you want a system that requires little or no intervention, both on day 1 or day 1000, Video Station may well be the one for you instead. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, click like, and if you want to learn more, click subscribe. I hope you guys look forward to these videos. Again, I will be covering a lot more media servers as we go into the summer, and a number of us are accessing all of our TVs, movies, and more far away whilst on holiday, as the pandemic gets a little lighter on the ground. Thank God for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more and need help choosing the right media server, go to the description and find a link to NAS Compares for Contact Us or the free advice section. It's unbiased. We just want to help you out and give you a better understanding about what service or system is best for you. Let us know what you're looking for. We'll look around and let you know the best NAS for your needs. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you next time.